The biggest thing has been hiring like the right people and not the right skills. If I'm working with this person every day, are they like excited and motivated and like fun to collaborate with? And are they willing to grow and are they willing to learn? I found those people to be the people I've worked with for years versus you can hire skills, but I think you can't hire that like sparkle, that like personality, that like right fit energetically. So I think that seems like a silly thing to base your hiring decisions off of, but I think it's really important, especially now that I'm like building an agency where there's like collaboration involved and how someone acts positively or negatively impacts everybody, including clients.
I think that's great. I don't think it's silly at all to have that sort of sixth sense. Someone can do the job, but if they're not jiving with your team, like it's not going to work out. You're not going to want to work together.
So if you've ever wondered about video strategy, then you're going to like hearing our, well, today's guest, not our next guest, but the guest right now, Natasha Pierre. I like talking with you, Natasha, because you're just a cool, chill individual. Dear listener, you'll want to pay attention to Natasha. Among other things, she has officially partnered with Meta. So Meta has ads running on Facebook and Instagram, and you can see her face. Well, you could before. Is the campaign still running, Natasha?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's still running.
All right. So, like, Meta found her and decided they wanted her and all the authority that she brings to be in some of their ads. She is the host of the Shine Online podcast and she's a video marketing coach for small businesses. Through her signature group programs and educational content, Natasha helps you build your brand with a confident video marketing strategy that ultimately grows your business community and impact simultaneously. And it's been a good moment since I've given a shout out to this mastermind that I'm a part of called The Mixer Mind. But Natasha and I have known each other for now it's already a year and 3 months because I decided to join The Mixer Mind again. And we've met up in person, and it's just always cool to record with people that you have a stronger connection with because you met up in real life. So, dear listener, meet Natasha, not Natasha, meet Jamie.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
I love it. All the greetings. I love it. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So before we dive back into how you've built the business, some of the highlights and some of the more challenging character defining moments, can you give the listener and us a snapshot of your business as it stands today?
Yes, absolutely. So my business has a few different arms. The one that drives the most revenue right now is my video content agency. So it's an over six-figure agency where we do done-for-you video content. So managing client accounts where we edit, create, and conceptualize all of their video content and strategies. We also do event coverage and we also do video content shoots. So kind of that higher level support where we're essentially doing all of the video content start to finish. And then I also have the educational side of my business. So where I have like digital resources, workshops, different types of programs to essentially help people that want to DIY their video strategy and learn those different tactics and things that I recommend. And then I also am a creator. So as you mentioned, I did partner with Meta and I often partner with a lot of brands in the tech and social media space. So that's also a big part of my revenue in addition to speaker partnerships and things like that. So those are kind of like the three main sectors.
Okay.
Wow.
Were those in order of greatest to least as far as the amount of revenue they contribute?
Yeah, I would say the agency is the biggest, and then the creator educator side of things kind of meld into one, but I'd say those are like the second from there.
Okay. All right.
So my question is, as far as the agency is concerned, what kind of team do you have? Are you still actually, behind the camera yourself, or are you like, what does it look like for you being involved in that?
Yeah. So I do have a team that supports me, all contractors, and we have 4 people right now. So myself, and my content director are, as we sound, we're content directors. So we cover more of like the high level strategy, the strategy calls, the content calendar build outs, like planning for launches, actually directing our clients when we're shooting with them on site for things like events and shoots. So I'm involved in that way, but I do have 2 content specialists, which essentially is like a fancy way of saying our video editors that essentially actually execute most of the strategy. So the editing, the caption writing, the cover design, everything like that. And then I also have a project manager who does all the operationsy things to make sure we're organized and in line and have all the SOPs and workflows running smoothly. So definitely a lean team, but I'm kind of more in the higher level strategy role in addition to really handling all of the sales and actually how we're getting our clients.
Yes, I'm intrigued because I also have I guess you could call it a personal brand side of my business. How do you balance creating for your personal brand and the whole sponsorships and partnership side with being such like a white glove, hands-on agency owner? Where because you fly out right to your clients to shoot this video content.
Yes, it is something that we do. We don't always fly out. Like sometimes they're shooting stuff with scripts that we give them. Sometimes we're shooting it for them, but definitely a lot of travel for the agency alone, which has been a lot to balance. Um, I mean, if I'm being totally honest, I'm still finding the balance and the flow because switching from agency mode to I'm creating content for my YouTube channel mode to I'm like scripting for a brand partnership to I'm going and flying to Dallas in a week to speak on a stage. Like it's definitely a lot of juggling. So I think like very good time management definitely helps me, but I think I really focus on like where I'm most needed and where I enjoy the most in my business. So as I kind of mentioned, it's like that higher level strategy, but also like creating content. It's like where I started, it's what I love most. So I try to prioritize that as much as possible in my calendar and when I'm spending my time and try to delegate or kind of streamline systems for the things that don't require me to do those things.
Okay.
Hmm. Okay. So can we backtrack a little bit as to when you got started? How did you get into all of this? How long have you been in the game?
I'm looking up your YouTube channel right now, by the way.
Yeah, YouTube's like my new favorite social media platform. Like, don't tell Instagram, but I'm having so much fun with YouTube. Yeah, there we go.
I
um, and just for context, as of recording this right now, my channel started with like 2,000 subscribers this year. Recently got monetized, had a few like viral videos, so it's been really fun. But anyway, total tangent. I actually
2,000 at the
start
beginning of this year to
2,000 in the beginning of this year.
7,840 subscribers now. That's a
Yes.
lot of growth in
Wow.
under 2 months.
Yes. Yes, a lot of growth. And that's only from maybe 5 videos, 5, 6 videos. So yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that definitely. But I started my business 7 years ago in my college apartment at the age of 21. I was about to graduate college and I kind of had the crisis I think every college student has of like, what do I want to do for the rest of my life now that I'm about to graduate, right? And so I kind of had reached out to a mentor that I had interned with, and she was like, if you want to build it, if you want to create it, you can. And I kind of was like, well, I think I want to do social media management. Like I was studying public relations at the time. Like, I think I want to help small businesses. I want to do all their content. I want to create all the things. And she was like, go for it. I support you. I think you can do it. She's like, actually, I'll give you your first client. And I was like, okay, so it's happening.
Wow.
So
Yay!
I literally,
Someone who
yeah, it
believes
was
in you.
fast. She did. She believed in me. She mentored me. And I think that was such a big catalyst for me to even see what was possible. Like, I think now you see creators and the online business is like a little bit more normal. But at then, I didn't even think it was like a possibility of where my career could go after college. But yeah, I essentially like put together a website, put together some packages. I started on Upwork, which I know is still around. Like, I know people still use it for hiring and stuff like that. And that's actually where I got my next 2 clients. And then from from there, I did social media management, and I really, really enjoyed it and really fell in love with Instagram and video specifically. And as video grew over the past, 7 years, video has gone through a lot of iterations and a lot of evolutions. And so I eventually launched my first courses, then I did VIP days, then I really focused on like the creator side of my business and partnering with brands, and kind of put social media management on hold, and more recently actually brought it back. So now I'm kind of back to my roots for the done for you. So my business has gone through a lot of evolutions, but video content and social media has always been at the core of that.
One question that's top of mind for me
Mhm.
is, how in the world did you partner with such big brands like Meta? What am I missing here? Because I thought, like, it's Meta. Like, you would need to be someone like, I don't know, Amy Porterfield or Pat Flynn, to
Yeah,
partner with them. I was quite impressed
yeah.
when I saw your ads, like, floating, well, their ads with you in them floating across my feed. Like, how do you pull off this level of stuff?
Yeah. And I was asking myself the same question because I partnered with them 2 years in a row, and it was definitely like my highest paid brand partnership, as you can imagine. And every time I talked to their team and they reached out, and we were going over briefs and concepts and the project and the campaign, they constantly went back to, we love how you show up in your videos. We love your personality. We love your expertise. We love this specific video you did on a specific topic. And so I know it sounds so small to be like my videos, but I don't know who was watching. I don't know how they stumbled across. I don't know how they found me, but the brand that I've been able to build especially on Instagram, which is my biggest platform, through how I show up in video, really showed them that I could be that person they wanted to have in their ads and be the face of not only Meta, but to actually teach and share and film and conceptualize all of the concepts that we ended up doing. So yeah, I thought it was really, really cool. And it shows the power of, like, you really never know who's watching your content. You don't need to be an Amy Porterfield level to attract incredible collaborations.
Right. But I mean, 48,000 folks on Instagram and 7,000. Well, I guess you weren't at 7,000 on YouTube last year or 2 years ago, but still, it's no small account.
Mhm.
Um,
So basically, I feel like the moral of the story is here, you were just being you and doing your thing, and these opportunities came along, and not trying to be anybody else. You were just showing up, and I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And it took a while to find my voice and to even want to create content. Like, when I was in that college apartment starting my business, I thought, I want to create content for everyone else. Like, I don't want to be in my content. I don't want to be in videos. I almost didn't even start my Instagram account because I feel like that's what a lot of social media managers do. They're like, I want to do it for my clients. I don't want to actually be in it. So it took a while to get that confidence, to get my voice, and to it's been like 7 years of consistently like creating videos and showing up in that way. So it definitely was a long game, but I feel like it can be like encouraging for everyone that wants to have those incredible opportunities fall in their lap.
7 years from college till now. It's been a long game. Uh, at what point did you feel like it was game over and you might need to go back and rely on that public relations degree?
Yeah, I think 2020 was a big year for everyone, but I think that was when I saw my business grow a lot. That's when my account was growing. That's when my revenue was growing. That's when I was really struggling to manage everything. Because as I mentioned, I was a social media manager, but it was me, myself, and I. Like, it was nobody else on top of all the other things that I mentioned. And so I think I was really struggling to find that balance of doing everything, where I had to let go of social media management and then I tried to do other things, and it felt like it was harder than it was worth at that time. But I knew the bigger vision. Like, I knew it could be kind of to where my business is now. So, but yeah, I think 2020 was definitely a bumpy year for everybody.
Even though your business was growing then.
Mm.
Did I understand that right?
Yeah, but I think sometimes growth, when you're not prepared for it, can be really hard to acclimate towards. I didn't have the aspirations of my business growing as fast as it did when it did. And so in a lot of ways, I didn't have the infrastructure, right? And so it made it where it was a lot of like stress, burnout. I mean, just being on social media at that time when then there was Reels and then there was TikTok and even just social media was changing, like it was overwhelming and it was a lot to adjust towards.
Mm-hmm. So my question is, how did building your personal brand, because you were saying you didn't want to be in your videos and stuff before, you wanted to do it for someone else, but how did that kind of parallel, I guess, of building your personal brand then alongside of what you do, how did it affect, how you worked with your clients, or yeah, I guess how you built it for them?
Yeah, I feel like I always like to use my account to test and experiment. I think it also helped me attract clients that were similar to me, whether they're their interests or they liked my content or how I showed up and different things like that. I think we know there's a lot of different ways of thoughts when it comes to video, but I definitely think that helped me attract great people, but also like test all the things on my account so then I could test all the things on their account. So I think they kind of went hand in hand. And even as I've talked about like the evolution and growth of my business, I think having a personal brand has allowed me to go through all those evolutions without losing people along the way. Because in a lot of ways, I talk about the same things as I did 7 years ago, but in a different way and with different offers and just with a different business structure and models. So I think that's definitely been something that's benefited me over the past few years.
I hear about
Mm-hmm.
personal brands, and it seems like there's a couple schools of thought. One being where the personal brand is pretty much solely speaking about topics related to your income, right? The business niche, if you will. And then there's another way where a personal brand might have a couple of facets, or unique things about you that you choose to focus on, and you rotate through like that kind of content and business content. Like, what's been your approach to the type of content that you end up publishing via your personal brand?
Yeah. I think for me, I think of it as like a creator educator is kind of how I like to think of my brand. So there's part of this like educating side of me teaching about video content. So strategies, tactics, case studies, what's working for me, what tech am I loving? Like I think there's like a teaching side of video content. Um, but I also think there's the other side of like, what are those mutual interests that I know the brands that I want to work with, the clients that I want to have, the students that I want to have also have? And so that's where I talk about business or I talk about just like wellness and lifestyle. And I talk about those other things kind of sprinkled throughout. And I found that's helped me get like a really good balance where people come to my page and they automatically know video is my thing, no matter where you're consuming my content. But there's also those like other related subjects where I feel like you can then like I know one thing whenever I'm traveling, people are interested in travel, people are interested in how I prepare for like speaking engagements and like how I'm picking my outfit, or people love my matcha and my morning routine. So all of those things might seem random, but other online business owners are probably having like a caffeinated beverage in the morning and are probably also maybe like interested in traveling for work and all those types of things. So it kind of makes it where everything does feel cohesive.
All right. All right. I feel like I'm asking all the questions.
You
I
are.
can keep asking more if you
Go ahead with your
I
next
just
one.
keep
That's
on.
fine. That's
Okay, no, because I mean I don't get to talk to
fine.
a video marketing coach. Like most of my guests aren't video marketing coach, and
Mhm.
I'm highly interested in video marketing, and so these things actually I'm curious about. For example, I see a significant other in some of your videos, right? Yeah, I do. But he's not in a lot of videos. So you being outgoing and a very, I would say talented video creator, like how have you navigated that decision? Like to show more of you, less of him, to not build him into the personal brand, so to speak, because I see plenty of people doing that. And so I'm just curious because clearly you're doing it right, but
Mhm.
yeah, what's been your decision process in that?
Yeah, and I think that's like a big conversation I have with a lot of my clients and students is around boundaries with social media, right? I think we see the lifestyle influencers and creators, and we think that full send lifestyle, sharing all of the things, is the best way to create and share and connect with people. But I've always found that I like to think of social media as a business in a way that, like, when I'm logging off, like a 9 to 5 situation or whatever, is when I'm logging off from thinking about creating, consuming, and being on social media. So part of it is like a boundaries thing of like not only protecting the things that I care about, but also my energy of not having to capture and create content out of everything in my life. But I also think that's actually evolved because Marlon, my husband, he actually used to work for me for 2 years. So he was actually a big part of my content and I shared a lot about him. But now that he's not in my business, it doesn't make as much sense for me to share about him as often. He often travels with me for work or supports me with work and all those types of things. And I think that's when I like to bring him into my content. But I think I like to keep to those core pillars and those core topics that make sense for me, but also keep that like healthy boundary. But he loves content. He loves helping me with content. He loves being in content. So do my dogs, like all the things. So it's not out of a lack of them wanting to be, but it's more of like protecting what is like something I really love and value, while sharing about it when it makes sense to. So it's kind of just a little bit of balance that I've found over the years and just kind of just trusting my intuition and my gut of what feels good to create content about.
We're looking at videos of you and Marlon
Ah.
right here. Okay, so
He's still spying on you.
right?
Yeah, right.
So I know this conversation, or maybe you tell me it didn't ever happen, but I'm guessing it did happen. Natasha, there are other couples who have these couples accounts and they're just blowing up and hundreds of thousands of people watch them. Like, what was that conversation between you guys? Because clearly you didn't go in that direction. I'm curious, like,
Yeah. I mean, I think the initial conversation was probably when we first got together and I was like, "Hey, I do this like social media thing, like all the things, you know?" And I was like, "Are you even comfortable being my content? Like, how private are you?" Like, of course, we had that like initial boundaries conversation. He's like, "Yeah, I love it. Like, I'm down for anything." And then I think as I mentioned as it like he was very much a part of my business and that was also during like an exciting period of our lives of like we got engaged, we got a house, we got married. And so it felt fun to share about those things because it was like a very big part of my life at that time. But then I think now that we're in like a different season of our life and he has his own career and things just look a little bit different, I think it was more of um, just like a natural evolution that happened as the shift happened. So it actually was less of a conversation and more of me being like, I'm just sharing about this less. And it just, he was like, "Okay, whatever you said the first place worked for me and it still works for me now." So I think that's kind of how it worked and flowed from there.
okay, okay, all right. I want to switch gears a bit and ask you about team. A good number of listeners right now have small teams, like it's them and two people that they contract with from the Philippines, or like I have one client who she contracts with a gentleman from Nigeria for her video editing. Like, can you speak to just two things that have allowed you to scale your business um, to multiple six figures with a team? Two things that helped you hold the team together and keep quality like output?
The biggest thing has been hiring like the right people and not the right skills, which I feel like is like the opposite of what you're recommended to do. But I feel like I've always hired with all the things considered, but like with my intuition in mind of like, if I'm working with this person every day, are they like excited and motivated and like fun to collaborate with? And are they willing to grow and are they willing to learn? I found those people to be the people I've worked with for years, like 3, 4 years. I mean, I've worked with my designer for 5 years at this point. Versus you can hire skills, but I think you can't hire that like that sparkle, that like personality, that like right fit energetically. So I think that seems like a silly thing to base your hiring decisions off of, but I think it's really important, especially now that I'm like building an agency where there's like collaboration involved and how someone impacts positively or negatively impacts everybody, including clients. So I think that's been a big thing. And I think the next thing has really been working on my leadership skills. And I think part of the time when I was at that crossroads in 2020, my business was growing so much. I was doing social media management, and I made the decision ultimately to let it go versus the path that I had, which was an agency route. And I think at that time, I just wasn't in a place where I was interested in or had the desire to be a better leader. And now I actually love being a leader. And I don't think that's everybody's cup of tea. Like, that's not for everybody. But I think being a leader to me has been like being very empathetic and always taking ownership of everything. So if, for example, one of our content specialists like totally mess up an edit, it goes out with like a typo and like just a totally like messed up piece of content, right? That we're not wanting to post. I'm never like, I'm so mad at you. Why did you guys do this? We have this SOP, we have all these things. Like, what happened? I'm more like, how can I support you better? Like, what didn't I do to make you feel supported? How could I have communicated things better? And how can I just be like an empathetic human of like, things happen. We're not robots. We're not AI. We don't get things right all of the time. And so I think that's helped me feel like more connected to my team, but also just lead my team better versus I've also worked with a lot of clients where it's like their way or the highway. They're delegating in a certain way where there's just no room for collaboration or empathy, as I mentioned. So I think those two things have really helped me build a team of people that are like amazing and really fun to work with. And so I think if more people focus on that, we'd have a lot more of those really great like contractor and leader kind of relationships.
I think that's great. I don't think it's silly at all to have that sort of sixth sense, if you will. That intuition is super important. Like, someone can do the job, but if they're not jiving with your team, like, you're right, it's not going to work out. You're not going to want to work together. And I think that's very important.
Since we're also talking about challenging moments, what was the time when you felt like that sixth sense in team hiring failed you, and you might want to swing to the other end of the spectrum and go straight after skills as the main criteria for a new hire?
Yeah, I mean, I think two situations. One was when I like my husband was going to find his own job and I had to replace him with operations. That was obviously hard. I was like, no one's ever going to do the job like him, literally and figuratively. He's like the wall behind me. So it's always going to be different. So that was very, very hard. And realizing that I shouldn't hire to replace a person. Like, you can never replace how someone is in your company. You can replace a role, but never a person. So I think that was like a hard lesson. And now my operations manager, she's amazing, but obviously they're different, right? So, and then I think just when I started building out more of an agency model, it took putting a few people in the right places to really get the right team in place and to realize who was the right type of people I was looking to hire. And so, of course, as you're building a new business, it's hard to have that team member that isn't fitting and working and hiring and rehiring and training. Like, it definitely took a lot of time and energy. So I think those two times it was really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. Well said. I'm specifically thinking of we had another guest named DL Sharon, and she was asking us some more like personal questions about my Facebook ads business, and I was sharing that, like, I feel capped out, so to speak, like 2 years in a row, like pushed right up to like the $250,000 a year mark gross. And she was like, to go through that, you have to be really unique and push those unique points, so to speak, in or promote those in your marketing. But she said, but also, usually what happens is that's the point where you end up hiring people to do the work that you do. And so you can spend time not necessarily doing the day-to-day operations, but growing the business. And so, like, when I ask about hiring, it's actually, I'm thinking myself, like, how do I get this right? Because I have hired a number of people, maybe 5 actually, over the years, and haven't quite hit upon the person who could run ads like me and be like, for example, you said your husband went and pursued a different career and you had to replace his position. But like, I truly am interested. Like, how did you find somebody who would be as accountable to business performance and success as the person, you know, who
That
has their life?
supports me in life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's totally different. And I think part of it was referrals. I've really always relied on referrals in some way. I feel like getting that recommendation, that thumbs up from someone that I trust has always gone a really long way. And when I think a lot of my hires have been that way. So I think that was really helpful for replacing that important role of an operations manager. But even to something you said, I think a lesson I've learned as I've grown my team is that they will never do it exactly how I'm going to do it. And it's like being okay with that. And I almost have like started to love that, where like people are like, oh, I want to hire you to be at my shoot. And I'm like, honestly, like I think my team's better than me, but I'll be there. And so I think it's understanding, even though my team would write something different or edit something different or film something differently or even think of content ideas totally different than me, like 90% of the time, part of delegating is trusting them that they'll never do it how I'm going to do it, but that's doesn't mean it's bad. Like it actually can be better when I trust them for them to do it. Because I know, especially as someone who's been a service provider, there's no worse feeling than when a client, you can just tell they don't trust you to bring their vision to life and to hold their business and to do what they've hired you to do. And it could be because they're having control. It could be because they've never let their social media go. It could be because they're burned in the past. Like there's tons of reasons why. But when there's not that trust, it can always make that relationship really hard because I'm always afraid to do what I know to be the best thing, knowing that you'll never like it because it'll never be what you're doing. You know what I mean? So that's been something I've had to learn, because when I first started hiring, I was like, well, I would never have done it that way. Like, how are we going to post it if it's not how I would have done it? But it's realizing that that's kind of the point, which is hard. It's really hard.
Gotta let go.
I
Gotta let
understand.
go.
I understand. Jamie, you as an ads manager in the business with me have been fortunate not to have managed ads for those kind of clients. But I have had clients in the past who it's like, wait a second, why did you set up an ad campaign in your Meta ad account? That's what you're paying me
Yeah,
to
that's
do.
my job.
Wait, why did you tweak my ad campaign that I set up? Like, that makes it really hard if you're like paying me to render this service to you, and like I have to start going in and double checking to make sure that you're not trying to be an ad manager. Like, what's going on here? You know, like so I can identify with that.
I just totally agree with that. I think it's challenging to do your job, and so I like to think of that as like being the leader and the CEO running a team as well. Of like, if I'm constantly doing that to everything they create, like it's so hard to be creative. So it's hard to let go of, though. It is.
How can somebody find out more about you or get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm excited to geek out over all the video series things. But yeah, I think like a common thread I heard here is just like start showing up, show up when it's messy, and like you learn and grow along the way versus trying to show up perfectly. So I feel like that kind of applied to everything in business we talked about. But yeah, in terms of connecting with me, definitely Instagram's the best place to hang out at Shine with Natasha. And then also on my YouTube channel, also Shine with Natasha, because there's a series there that we'll probably be talking about on the next episode. So go watch it ahead of time. But yeah, this is a really fun conversation.